Nebraska Public Media Sports, your home for championship sports, is live from Sun Valley Lanes in Lincoln, Nebraska for the 2024 NSAA Bowling Championships. We welcome you to Sun Valley Lanes in Lincoln for what should be a terrific matchup in Class A girls with Grand Island taking on Fremont. It's a rematch of last year's championship battle. With me is former Husker Carla Vandenberg. I'm Bill Dolman. So good to have you with us. And we've had a tremendous 2024 state tournament. And why not put together two of the best teams that this state has on the girls' side in Class A?
Absolutely, Bill. These are two powerhouse teams. Fremont is looking to repeat their state championship from last year. Grand Island looking for their first state title.
And earlier today, Grand Island knocked off Fremont. So it's a rematch of the action we've seen already here in Lincoln. It's been a fantastic tournament here in 2024. The Seward boys, the champions for the first time in Class B. Wayne won its fourth consecutive state title on the girls' side in Class B. In a thriller, Columbus with a one-pin victory in the final match, the final game. They won the title in Class A. And we're about to crown the champions in Class A girls with Fremont and Grand Island meeting next.
At Teammates, our mission is to positively impact the world by inspiring students to reach their full potential through mentoring. Since 1991, Teammates has served more than 47,000 students across the Midwest. Today, we have a growing list of students waiting to be mentored. Mentors come from all walks of life. To be a mentor, all you have to do is be there. Find more information about how to become a mentor at teammates.org.
Welcome back to Sun Valley Lanes in Lincoln, Nebraska. We're getting set to go with the Class A battle for the girls' state championship between second-seeded Fremont and the top-seed Grand Island Islanders. Take a look at where these two towns are located. Grand Island, of course, right along I-80, about an hour and a half west of Lincoln, and Fremont, about an hour north of the capital city. Two terrific bowling communities, and here's what's transpired so far in Class A girls. For Grand Island, it has been an unbeaten road to get to the final. They've knocked out Bellevue East, Omaha West Side, and they beat Fremont earlier in this tournament. Meanwhile, Fremont is 3-1 in the tournament. Wins over Millard South and Pius. Then there's the loss to Grand Island. Another victory over Pius, setting the stage for the second battle between the Tigers and the Islanders. Time now to meet the teams, and let's turn it over to the voice of the Nebraska State High School Championships, PA announcer Heath Kramer.
Now, let's meet the teams. First on lane 27, the Islanders from Grand Island Senior High. Number 4, Brianna Miller. Number 9, Emily Dreher. Number 12, Kaylee Cusella. Number 13, Bailey Vodenall. Number 15, Hannah Stromer. Number 23, Sarah Lopez. And number 29, Wendy Kohler. The assistant coach for the Islanders is Paul Lee, and the head coach is Brad Ernest. Now, on lane 28, the Fremont Tigers. Number 4, Kaylee McKenzie. Number 7, Mallory Hanson. Number 9, Chloe Phillips. Number 10, Alyssa Dorenkamp. Number 12, Haley Bates. Number 15, Kai Valentine. And number 21, Kaylee Halliday. The coaches for the Tigers are Mark McKenzie and Jess Sorensen. Okay, Islanders fans, let's hear you. And Tigers fans, let's hear you. Congratulations to these two teams on making your way to the finals of the 2024 NSAA Class A Girls Bowling Team Championships.
Let's meet the teams once again. You take a look at it for the Grand Island Islanders. They have 3 seniors on the roster who are all on the team a year ago when Fremont won the state championship over GI. They'd like a little revenge in tonight's match to take a title home of their own in their final match. And for Fremont, keep an eye on Kaylee McKenzie. She won the district title as a freshman. She won the district title as a senior. She's going to try and lead her team in her final match to another state championship. All right, Carla, let's take a look at the lane patterns for this Class A state matchup.
So the girls are going to be bowling on a 42-foot pattern that has a 6-to-1 ratio. That 6-to-1 ratio means that there's 6 times as much oil here in the middle of the lane than on the outside of the lanes. It's less challenging than a sport pattern, but it is more challenging than your typical house shot. This pattern plays better for a player that's going to play the outside around boards 6, 7, or 8. Look for players who throw a hook to play more in the track between the second and third arrow.
Rules for this matchup, it's a Baker format, best 3 out of 5. 5 players on each team are in action. Each member of the team is responsible for 2 frames. The teams will switch sides after the 5th frame, and it is double elimination. If Grand Island should knock off Fremont in this best of 5, the Islanders are the champions for the first time. But if Fremont can win the first best of 5, that'll force another 5-game battle, best of 5, and then it'll be winner take all. So we're underway with the Class A Girls State Championship in Grand Island in their familiar purple uniforms. You see those throughout all of the Islander sports. And they're on lane number 27, lane 28, the Fremont Tigers. You saw Hannah Stromer a moment ago lead it off for Grand Island. This is Chloe Phillips for Fremont. Good start for the Tigers. And an open frame start, 8.
Now up for Fremont, sophomore Kai Valentine.
Starts it off with a 9. Valentine, a member of last year's Fremont State Championship team. This is Wendy Kohler for Grand Island. And like Stromer before, starts off with a 7. And that's wide in an open frame. Kohler splits the pins and leaves 1. So an 8-9 start for Grand Island. Islanders the top seed coming in 24-1 in regular season and district play. 3 more wins. And she's got a wobbler. That is Kaylee Halliday. And another 9 in game 1. Bailey Vodenhall in the 3 spot for Grand Island. And she's got some work to do.
That is an interesting leave. You don't see the 7, 9, 10 left very often.
And that's not going to find the mark. So back-to-back 9s after a strike to start things for Fremont. Now, if you're Vodenhall, it's kind of just hope for the best, and that's the last thing you wanted. Still without a spare or a strike for Grand Island through 3 frames. Now Kaylee McKenzie, the district champion, 2nd strike of game 1 for Fremont. Brianna Miller in the 4 spot for Grand Grand Island, and she leaves the 10.
Now we'll see last year's singles champ Haley Bates, the senior for Fremont.
And she starts off with a 6. And Miller gets the first spare of game 1 for the Islanders. Couldn't get them all to fall. 2 strikes and 3 nines.
Just like a senior, excuse me, sophomore.
So both anchors start things off with a 6th in their first throws.
Both anchors strong bowlers. Kaylee is a 195 average bowler. Haley Bates for the Tigers heading off to Missouri, Central Missouri State, and will bowl for them after she graduates in the spring. So a rough start for both anchor bowlers, but look for them to make some adjustments and really come out swinging.
So strong finish to the first rotation for Grand Island. Back-to-back spares, and they make the change. They'll flip the lanes. And Chloe Phillips, who started things off for Fremont with a strike, steps up on lane number 27. And a 7. And Haley Bates will be off to Central Missouri, and Kaylee McKenzie will stay at home in Fremont. She'll bowl for Midland. This is Kai Valentine. 9 her first time up, and she starts off with an 8 here. Got the rebound spare.
That ball took a lot of skid down the lane, never really got into a roll.
Now here's Kai Valentine.
Wendy Kohler now for Grand Island. Very high swing and gets her a lot of ball speed. She's got probably 16, 17 miles an hour as her ball's going down the lane, where more typically for high school girls looking around more like 13, 14 miles an hour. So that high swing that Wendy's got really increases the ball speed that she's got, and a nice spare there for Kai Valentine.
The 9 to pick up, and she does it solidly. And that's Kaylee Halliday. And now Bailey Bodenhall is next up for Grand Island.
And Bodenhall bowling for Grand Island, but is homeschooled. She does participate in homeschool band. Marched in a parade with that homeschool band this year, and also participates in unified bowling. So lots of activities that she's got going on.
And another spare. 3 in a row now for Fremont. Just one of the 3. So 2 open frames for Vodenhall in this opening game. And now Kaylee McKenzie.
She's got a nice ball and a nice ball reaction. Just a slight adjustment is probably all she needs to get that ball up to the pocket.
Number 4 in the lineup. Number 4 in the jersey, Brianna Miller, takes him straight on. But that's the first strike of the game for Grand Island. McKenzie works quickly. Doesn't get the spare. She gets 3 of the 4 and a 9 after a string of 3 spares for the Tigers. Cusella, a spare in the 5th. And her first ball of the 10th grade game. 1 knocks them all down. Back-to-back strikes for Grand Island.
In a tight match here, we've got a max score of 152 for Grand Island and a max score of 158. That'll change now for Fremont. .148 now for Fremont. Max score.
Felt good about that. Cusella, back-to-back strikes in the 10th. Bates answers with a spare.
And even though Kaylee struck on that last shot, she did go over to talk to her coaches. She's a right-handed bowler. That ball crossed over onto the left side of the head pin. We call it a Brooklyn. So she needs to make an adjustment because she got lucky that that was a strike, but she needs to make an adjustment, get up to the 1-3 pocket. So she went over, touched base, and we'll see what change she makes here. Maybe a little too much of an adjustment, but that's the time and place for that.
Just 5 on that last roll, and now the final ball of game 1. 7 for Bates. And a tight one in game number 1. Grand Island takes it 147 to 145. And they really had to come from behind to do that. It wasn't until the 9th frame that we saw Grand Island post a strike on the board, and then got 2 more from Cusella in the 5 spot. So a 2-pin win for Grand Island. Chloe Phillips starts off game 2 the way she started game 1, and that's with a strike.
Beautiful shot, lots of pin action. That's just the way you want those pins to fall.
And Stromer knocks them all down. But after waiting for a while to get an Islander strike, Stromer takes care of that right away. Ty Valentine scatters him for a 7.
Wendy Kohler now for Grand Island also participates in Unified Track and Unified Bowling, such a great program in our schools. And not a split that you want to leave, just a baby split, but those can sometimes be the toughest ones because you really got to rely on the ball getting through them in just the right way.
Ty Valentine knocks them all down. Striking a spare in the first 2 frames for Fremont in game 2.
Textbook way to get that spare. Mike can't get over. Oh, had a chance.
Settles for a 9. Kaylee Halliday leaves the 7 pin. This is game 2, best of 5 series. Grand Island is unbeaten so far. Bodenhall can't knock down the 7. Halliday just misses. Strike, spare, and open for Fremont.
Something to watch for in these girls, they're so well coached. If you watch their wrists of their hands, they are solid. You've got anywhere from a 12 to 15 ball in their hand, and at the top of their swing, what could happen is it could sort of swing the ball up, and their wrists could sort of go up and back, but they have such solid wrists where they're keeping the ball and keeping a straight line between their hand and their elbow, which really gives them the best opportunity to leverage what's happening with the ball to get some really nice power reaction.
An 8 for Brianna Miller. Kaylee McKenzie, 4 pins remaining for the spare. It's just 2 of the 4. And an 8. Back-to-back open frames for Fremont. Brianna Miller got the spare. 2 consecutive spares for Grand Island.
And she won't need to make an adjustment on her next strike shot. That's right where she wants the ball to be.
Kaylee Cusella starts off her 5th frame with a 9. Haley Bates in the 5 spot for Fremont. Tigers the number 2 seed, 24-2 regular season in district play. Haley Bates for Fremont. And now Kaylee Cusella for Grand Island. And she leaves 1. So they'll switch lanes as they go to the 6th. Anna Stromer for Grand Island, Chloe Phillips. Started off this game with a strike, and in the 6th, it's an 8.
And Chloe Phillips, another one with a really strong wrist at the top of her backswing. She's also a golfer. I don't know much about golf, but I have to imagine that will benefit in both sports.
She's been solid until that moment. Strike, spare, and strike. But now a lot to clean up on lane 28. Stromer, meanwhile, 2 pins to pick up, and she gets 1. Close margin through the first half. Just a 1-pin lead for Grand Island over Fremont. Last year when the Tigers won the state championship, that capped an unbeaten 29-0 season. And she got them all to go down.
Gets a messenger out there to take out that 5-pin.
Now Wendy Kohler. And it's an 8. In the 7th, Kai Valentine. Got it to rock and fall. That's her first strike. Kohler trying to pick up a spare. And manages just one.
Kaylee Halliday, now the freshman for Fremont. New to the team, just really loves bowling. Family talked about how much she's been enjoying her season. Fremont Tigers, and a 9 count on her 8th frame ball.
Posted 9 in the 3rd. Bailey Bodenhall takes him head on again. There's a 7. She had a spare back in the 3rd. Just 1 strike so far for Grand Island in game 2. And that is going to curl just enough for Kaylee Halliday to get her 2nd spare of the match. She went 9 spare in game 1, 9 spare here. Bodenhall leaves 2. We head to the 9th, and this is Kaylee McKenzie. Oh. 8 and some work to do. Brianna Miller. She also leaves herself some work. 6 for Grand Island and 8 for Fremont.
Now you're seeing splits on both lanes, 27 and 28. And if you tuned into the Class A boys match, you heard us talking about lane 27 being a lane where a lot of splits were being left. The thing that has happened between matches, however, is the lanes were stripped, meaning the oil was pulled off and a new oil pattern was laid down. So whatever was affecting the boys match is null and void for this match. We've got a fresh oil on these lanes, and they're going to break down a little bit differently than the way that they broke down for the boys.
There was a lot of talk earlier in the week when the individual state championships took place on Monday about the oil patterns, especially in the girls' competition. And there's a strike in the 10th. Kaylee Cusella looks like she's wondering how she did it. Big part Bates. We've got 2 12s, one in the 5 spot. There's Cusella. And for her, that's an 8. Get the bookkeeping right.
Great shot.
Another strike.
This is just such a textbook strike. The pin action is just great. That ball pushes through, takes out the 5 pin that's right behind the head pin, and clears out through the 8 and 9 pin.
Yeah, Cusella knew that that was not a good release. And game 2 ends with an open frame for Grand Island, and Fremont has dominated and is finishing strong. How about that for sending a message? 3 in a row to close it out. And after a close Grand Island win in game number 1, Fremont dominates 166 to 114. So we're tied up at 1. And that's an important win for Fremont. The Tigers have won thus already. They've got to win this Baker series to force another best of 5. If Grand Island comes back and wins 2 more, the Islanders are the state champs for the first time. Fremont is trying to go back-to-back. Stromer starts off game 3 with a rocker that won't fall. And here's Chloe Phillips. Going to the split.
Yeah, came in just a little bit high, so that split isn't entirely unexpected. When you come in high like that, sometimes you leave the 4-9, but was able to get that 4 to fall and to leave just the 9 pin. And a spare there for Grand Island.
Phillips had been 2 strikes and 2 spares. That's her first open frame of this championship match. So a 9 to start, a spare to begin for Grand Island, and Kohler follows the spare with the 9.
Kai Valentine now for Fremont carries a 4.0 GPA, active in lots of other things. She's also in drama and band and art. Very active crew out there in Fremont.
Identical leaves of the 10 pin. Kohler well off the mark. Valentine capitalizes. What do you make of the follow-through and the continued follow-through that she has with that arm swing, going up and back and up and back?
Honestly, that's for a lot of players, that's just a habit. And for some players, that's something that they do intentionally to remind themselves and to sort of have the muscle memory of a straight follow-through, so that it's just sort of gravity moving your arm as the ball is pulling your arm back and then follow through. But force of habit, maybe.
Kaylee Halliday with a 9 on the Fremont side, and now Bailey Vodenhall tries to pick up the spare after the 8 here in frame 3. Got him. Barely. Second spare of game number 3 for Grand Island. Halliday, though, leaves it open.
And you know, when I say gravity taking your arm, what I mean by that is, as you're set up, just the way that we see the Grand Island is here, and then you push the ball out in front of you, letting the ball just drop, letting gravity pull it down, keeping that arm swing nice and loose, so that you're not forcing the ball, you're not making it go any faster or slower than it needs to go, but just having a nice, easy, loose swing. And we've got a pair of splits.
Miller trying to make the most of hers. And all she's able to get is that 10 pin. So score of 8 in the 4th for GI. Now Kaylee McKenzie. Best of 5 match tied up at a win apiece. She
Looks
managed
good.
just one. A pair of 8s in the 4th frame. And now to the 5th. Cusella will go first. Nice. First strike of game 3 for Grand Island. Now the pressure's on Haley Bates.
And you see her taking that practice swing real quick there. Just a nice, easy, and then strong wrist and straight follow through. Beautiful shot.
She doesn't match the strike. Chance for a spare. Close out the first half of game number 3.
And, you know, even though she didn't get the result she wanted there, she didn't get the strike, that was a great shot. She was right in the pocket. She had great ball reaction. It could just be a half a board change that she needs to get the angle just a little bit steeper as she goes into the pocket, but she really doesn't need to change much.
District runner-up closes out the 5th frame with a spare. 2 spares in the first half here for Fremont. Make the turn, and differential looks just less than 10 pins at this point. Grand Island working on a strike. Fremont to spare. And Chloe Phillips begins the 6th. Another 9. Stromer. Did a good job keeping it in play.
It rode the rail for a second there.
More than a second, I think.
I think she would have liked it to get back up in the lane a little quicker.
So a 6 for the Islanders. Phillips misses the spare. 2 9s for her in this 3rd game. Such a great start. Manages 2 of the 4. Six pin advantage for Grand Island. Valentine manages a 6.
So for a spare like that, she might think about moving her feet maybe 4 to the right, and where she's throwing the ball 2 to the right, to give herself the best chance to hit that 1-2 and use that 1 pin to get over and knock out the 10 pin.
Valentine trying to pick up 4. Oh, just missed. Good effort, and the crowd appreciates it.
And sometimes you can do everything right on a spare like that, and it just is a degree off on the angle that it hits the pins.
Oh, got them all. Well, this game has been tight throughout. Halliday. 7 wobbles. She just cannot get that to go down. Halliday has gone 9 on every one of her first throws. She's picked up 1 spare. Good roll by Bodenhall, and she leaves 1. Halliday 2 spares, beg your pardon, and just misses a 3rd. She slides it wide to the right.
Just a little too flat in her release. Didn't quite get her hand around the ball to allow it to catch a roll on the back end of the lane.
Grand Island the lead, getting into double digits. We go into the 9th frame.
Kaylee McKenzie, a senior, we said heading off to Midland to bowl after she graduates, planning on majoring in elementary education, and a strike for Kaylee. She goes what we call Brooklyn on this one, meaning a right-hander hitting the left side pocket, and she knows it.
So a nice roll by Brianna Miller, or beg your pardon, by Kaylee. Brianna. Here's Kaylee Mexican. We lead. There are more Kayleys, Haleys, and Baileys in this match. And that just nudges the 10 pin to get the spare.
Kaylee Kusela now called the leader in the team. She's just a sophomore, but parents, other teammates say they listen to her. She's really the one that they look up to and listen to. And a 9 count there on her first 10th frame shot.
What's up, a 7? She gets the spare.
You see these opponents who are both going for a state championship, high-fiving each other. There's such camaraderie between the teams. These teams see each other all throughout the season, and bowling is such a family environment, family sport, that it's so great to see that even though they're both vying for a state championship here, they can also celebrate each other's successes.
So Kaylee spares and Haley spares.
You're having fun with that.
Final roll of the 10th for Grand Island, and it's a strike. I believe a 1 by Bates. And that's how game number 3 comes to an end, with Grand Island pulling out a 147. 147 to 128 final. And Grand Island takes a 2-games-to-1 lead as we go to the 4th. Grand Island is a win away from a state championship.
Grand Island is a young program, just a couple years old. They started with recruiting kids who may or may not have had any bowling experience, but with the support of Westside Lanes and the strong youth program that Grand Island has, they have really built this up, and now in just a few years into their program, they're working towards a state championship.
It really is amazing how, and we talked about this in one of the earlier championships here at Sun Valley, that just a couple of years ago, there was one classification. All the teams competed, and after so many years of trying to get bowling on the NSAA championship slate, you have a couple of years of success. The interest grows pretty dramatically. So many great bowling communities. There's a spare for Grand Island. That you've got communities like Wayne. They proudly say we're a bowling community, or Fremont and Grand Island and York and Seward with a state championship. So much more interest. And now you've got the 2 classifications of Class A and Class B, and participation is up, interest is up, more recruiting. And the way the communities embrace the sport is really amazing and great to see.
You know, there's been so much support at all levels of growing the sport of bowling. Former head coach, Hall of Famer Bill Straub of Nebraska, and current head coach Paul Klempo were such great advocates of growing the sport of women's bowling, and now at the collegiate level it's expanded so much that now that's trickling down into the high school levels in states that didn't in the past sponsor high school bowling. Iowa, Nebraska, South Dakota are now states that are sponsoring high school bowling, and kids can earn letters for their high school. They can win sanctioned high school state championships, and as it's grown at all levels, it grows up and it grows down, and it's really been a fantastic thing to see over the last decade or so in girls and women's bowling.
Bowden Hall, a 9, leaving the 10. Great start, though, for Grand Island. And there's finally a strike for Kaylee Halliday. So many 9s, and she finally got them all to fall. gets the spare. What a start for Grand Island here in number 4. If Grand Island wins this, the state championship is theirs. They gain a measure of revenge on Fremont, who won the title a year ago. Nine for Kaylee McKenzie.
Brianna Miller now for Grand Island, also a player who also participates in unified bowling. Beautiful shot there for her.
Spare, strike for Grand Island.
Brianna lost her footing there a little bit at the end, kind of stumbled, but it didn't matter. She was able to find the pocket.
Oh, that just slides by. Another open frame. That's the third of this 4th game for Fremont. First 2 state championships were won by Wayne when there was just one classification. Defeating Millard West in 2021. Wayne beat Humphrey Lindsay Holy Family in 2022. Last year in Class A, Fremont won the championship. Wayne won the Class B title. Wayne has won again in Class B, 4 consecutive state championships for the Blue Devils. This is a rematch of last year's final. There's a strike. Bates comes through.
She is heading off to Central Missouri State in the fall, and she's going to be an asset to that team and is going to make her mark on college bowling real soon.
Slid past the head pin. First open frame of game 4. But a big lead for Grand Island. Can they hold on to it? Can they grab the championship and take the trophy home? They don't want to have to go through what Columbus had to go through to win the Class A Boys Championship. Here's Stromer with a 9. Class A Boys Championship, an absolute thriller. Columbus, the top seed, had been unbeaten, faced a Pius team that had gone through the losers bracket, had to win 4 in a row. Then they won the first Baker Series, forcing a winner-take-all additional series, and it went down to the final throw of the 10th frame in the 10th game of the night between the two teams, and Columbus won it by 1 pin. Dramatic. Here, Grand Island is taking control.
A challenging spare there, too, in that championship. The 3-9 was the spare that needed to be picked up for that win. It was such an exciting moment.
Gavin Unger of Columbus secured the win for the Discoverers, their first ever state championship in bowling. And a good pickup on the spare by Chloe Phillips. Wendy Kohler leading 3.
Kai Valentine for the Tigers.
They need to start stringing some strikes together. A couple extra pins, but leaves a split.
You know, even though you get a couple extra pins there, you almost don't want that because it can be helpful to have those 2 pins in the middle to help guide the ball from the 1 pin to the 7 pin on the spare. Now she's got to find a way to angle the ball to get there on its own. So you like the higher count if they fall, but it's not as useful for making the spare if they fall. She did all right.
Nice shot by Kai.
Good for her. So she did it the other way from what I was talking about. Instead of hitting the left side of the head pin, she takes out the right side of the head pin and uses the head pin to take out the 7.
Back-to-back spares to begin the second half of game 4, and Bodenhall rattles him around and gets 9 to go down. Halliday, a strike last time, and another first throw 9.
The ball didn't skid as long as she wanted it to. It kind of caught a roll a little bit early and then went high into the head pin.
The lead was in the 30s for Grand Island. Fremont has trimmed it. But the math as it is right now, it's a 13-pin differential, and Halliday, after the strike in the 3rd frame, comes back with a spare in the 8th. 3 consecutive spares after Bates' strike in the 5th. Miller. Oh, the 10 is rocking.
Oh, it tried.
Kaylee McKenzie found the pocket. She's got the strike. Oh, here come the Tigers. One of the three. 3 consecutive open frames in Grand Island, which had gotten off to a great start in the first half of this game. The numbers right now indicate a tie, but there's still some math to do. Fremont, just terrific at this surge. And now Haley Bates. A strike in the 5th. And another in the 10th. How about this comeback by Fremont? Gets a strike in the 10th. Fremont's max score is a 180. Max score for Grand Island, a 160. Strike here would seal it for Fremont. That's a 9.
She fouled on that, but at this point, their max score was going to be a 160. Fremont's already at 168, so as frustrating as that is, and it was with her slide foot. Sometimes it happens with your trail foot. She keeps her trail foot behind her really well, so just cross the line a little bit, but ultimately it doesn't make a difference.
What a second half surge by Fremont in game 4. Grand Island started game 4 with a spare strike. And a substitute came in for Grand Island.
That was Sarah Lopez, the senior.
Getting a chance to finish out that 10th frame for Grand Island. So Fremont has come back and gotten the victory. 169 to 149. So we are going to go to a 5th. And if Fremont wins this, we'll play another Baker series. Stromer starts it off with a 9. Really impressive job by Fremont.
Sometimes in Baker matches, scores can be all over the place because of the nature of each player only throwing 2 frames. But Grand Island has been really consistent. 3 games in the 140s. They had that 114 the second game, but really consistent with those high 140s. Fremont consistent as well, 145, 166, 128, 169, a little bit of a fluctuation, but by and large, both teams staying pretty consistent.
Stromer got the pin she needed for the spare. Now Phillips to try and match. Game 5, best of 5. Spare aside. Wendy Kohler, number 2 spot in the Grand Island lineup. And 8. Kai Valentine missed the pocket.
Another shot that just stayed in a skid and never really found its way into a roll.
Fuller got them both. 2 spares to start game number 5. Grand Island wins, the Islanders win the title. Fremont wins, another Baker series. All 3 go down for Kai Valentine.
Great way to make that spare.
Bailey Bodenhall right down the middle.
And you see her shaking her head there. She knows it was a Brooklyn shot. She knows that it wasn't her best shot, and she needs to make an adjustment, whether it's in her swing or her alignment. But she's happy she got the 10, but needs to do something different.
Another first ball 9 for Kaylee Halliday. And a 7 for Brianna Miller. You want the model of consistency, it's Kaylee Halliday. She has 1 strike, and the rest of the tournament, the rest of this match, all first ball 9s. She picks up the spare on the 7. That's a spare for Miller.
There's her strike shot. She can do that again when she's up again on that lane. She'll be just fine.
McKenzie knocks them all down.
She's playing between about boards 2 and 3. Just straight up, gives it a little bit of a roll at the end of it, but really, really nice use of the oil on the lane, the pattern, the way that it's breaking down.
Cusella leaves 2. We have not had an open frame yet in game 5. Cusella got him. 4 spares and a strike through the first 5 frames for Grand Island. And Bates just gets 2 of the 3. That's the first opening, but it's still tight. We'll make the turn to the 6th frame and back to our leadoff bowlers. Stromer for Grand Island, Phillips for Fremont.
Again, that's the 3rd shot we're seeing in a row on lane 27 that's going Brooklyn. I don't think that it has anything to do with the oil pattern on the lanes. I don't necessarily think we're looking for a ball change to happen.
Another spare for Fremont here in game number 5. That's their 4th. Stromer slides it past. That's the first open frame for Grand Island. Kai Valentine leaves herself a split.
So she stays on the right side of the head pin, stays in her pocket, and does not get the fruits of her labor there, leaves the 4-9.
Wendy Kohler leaves one.
And this 4-9 is a really tricky spare because the 9 is sitting slightly behind the 4-pin. And so the only option is to hit the 4-pin on the left side of it and get it to kick over to the 9-pin.
So both teams go open in the 7th, both posting a 9. 2-pin advantage for Grand Island through 7. Halliday. First time that she's left more than 1 pin. It's an 8. 2 to pick up for the spare. 3 spot for Grand Island is Bailey Bodenhall. Strike in the 3rd. And a split in the 8th. And that hangs in there long enough for Halliday to get the spare in the 8th for Fremont. Next up for Fremont, Kaylee McKenzie.
And you see Vodenhall back there talking to her coaches. This is another split that is a challenging split because these pins, rather than the way the 4-9 was with the 4-pin just slightly in front of the 9-pin, the 4-6 is what Vodenhall's got to work on here, and they're directly across from each other. The natural, the physics of it is that the pin is going to go towards the back and not go straight across. So she's got to find a way to hit it just right to get one of the pins to slide across, and she just lands it in the ditch.
McKenzie, 6 pins to begin her 9th frame. Now talk with her coach. Jess Sorensen and Mark McKenzie. Brain trust for Fremont. Miller, 8 pins with her first roll in the 9th frame. Oh, just sailed past the 10 and it's left. A 9 for McKenzie in the 9th. And Miller head in hands as she leaves a pin. And a score of 9 in the 9th.
So 6-pin difference here. We've got Grand Island at 130, Fremont at 136. Both teams with an open in the 9th frame. So nobody has, I mean, while Fremont has 6 pins on Grand Island, nobody has the advantage of a spare or a strike helping nudge up the score in the 10th frame.
So it's just really a one-on-one duel. Fremont with a 6-pin advantage. Kaylee Bates knocks down 9. Kaylee Cusella for Grand Island.
The senior against the sophomore.
If Fremont wins this, we'll have another Baker series. So both post a 9. Cusella a spare. Fremont, I beg your pardon, that's Bates with a spare. Fremont is sensing that we're going to have another series to decide this championship.
Cusella says not yet. Haley just needs to keep it on the lane here. She's a solid enough player. She keeps it on the lane, she's going to get enough to lock it in.
And a 9 for Bates. Fremont at 155. In the last row for Cusella. And it is Fremont taking game number 5, 155 to 148 from the losers bracket to a win in the first Baker Series. Fremont wins it 3-2, and that means we will play another best of 5 to determine the championship in Class A girls. Grand Island took games 1 and 3, and Fremont comes back to win 4 and 5, and we start again. And Chloe Phillips starts off strong with a strike for Fremont, trying to win a second consecutive Class A state championship.
There's that Hannah Stromberg there for Grand Island, the senior, heading off to college in the fall when she graduates, planning on majoring in early childhood education. Always need more teachers. And a strike for Fremont.
Ty Valentine let the pins do the work for her there, and there's a miss on the spare attempt by Hannah Stromer. So a 7 in the first frame. Kohler right down the middle at a 9. Here's Kaylee Halliday. Now that string of 9 with her first roll, that has come to a screeching halt. She had an 8 in her last frame and 6 here. That after the back-to-back strikes. Kohler goes wide. Taking care of 3 of the 4 and a 9 for Kaylee Halliday.
So looking for Bailey Vodenhall to get Grand Island going here. They've started with 2 opens, but anything can happen.
Eight on the first roll. Kaylee McKenzie. Another 6. These two met earlier in the competition, with Grand Island defeating Fremont 3-1. But in the championship series, Fremont takes the first Baker 3-2.
And a third open for Grand Island.
Now McKenzie. Can she pick it up? She did. What a shot by Kaylee McKenzie.
She's happy with it.
Next up, Brianna Miller. She doesn't get it to turn over. Can she pick up that spare?
So I want you to watch Haley's finish here. She has great leverage. Her slide finishes before she lets go of the ball, just a split second. But that time in between, even though it's so short, gives her really, really great leverage. She has great knee bend that she stays down in. Just a really, really solid fundamental approach for Haley.
Miller slides it past everything. 4 straight open frames for Grand Island. You go back to, what was it, in our first series where they opened up Goes with all those strikes and spares. Bates finishes off. Back-to-back spares to close out the first half of this first game. This series will determine the champion. Cusella leaves for.
Kaylee comes from a bowling family. She's got a brother that won the state singles championship. I know her family's involved at Westside Lanes. Just lots of bowling that's happening in that family, which is so common for these girls. So many high school players say, I got into bowling because my parents bowled, or I always had to go down to the bowling alley when my parents bowled league.
Just one. So a score of 7. No spares, no strikes yet for Grand Island through the first 5 frames. You go back to the last game. Game 5 of the previous series. Stromer from lane 6 gets that first strike just as I'm talking about this. He had a 7 in the first frame, comes back with a strike, but you go back to that last game, Carla, they went spare, spare, strike, spare, spare, and had what seemed to be a commanding lead and was rolling toward a championship, and then everything changed in the second half. Fremont won it, and that's why we're here.
That's the excitement of a Baker match, is because players only have 2 frames, it's hard to get into some consistency, and so you can have games like that where the first half of the game looks great, and then it's just this like left turn that happens in the back half of the game, and sometimes even vice versa. We may see Grand Island do that here. They started off really rough in the start of this game, but look for them to see if they can turn it around and have a completely different second half of the game.
Chloe Phillips, 6-1, 7. You're right. Fremont, first 5 frames, 2 strikes, 2 spares. And this time Kohler comes through to get that last pin in the second, almost identical to what we saw her do in the second frame. Thought she had the strike, left a pin, didn't pick it up. Here she does. There's Kai Valentine with that familiar release, follow through. She leaves 2. She had a big strike for Fremont back in the second. Bailey Bodenhall. Leave 1.
She's tending to find the left side of the head pin. I'm not sure if she needs to make a ball change or an alignment change, but that's becoming a pattern for her over on the left side.
Kai Valentine, very steady. Slipped, and that roll slipped away. Now Kaylee Halliday. Another 9, Brianna Miller. And she leaves the 10.
Though that came out of the gutter, it won't count.
Big lead for Fremont. This is game 1 of our second bigger series. Kaylee Cusella, just 7 pins back in the 5th frame.
like I said, she's a 195 average bowler. She's not having her best match here. She's got to start. You can see she's getting frustrated. She's not getting the ball reaction that she wants. She's not getting the pin count that she wants.
Six and a spare in the fourth, 7 and a spare here in the seventh for Kaylee McKenzie. Two of the four. Fremont's already ramped up. The lead insurmountable for Grand Island. 110 the score for Grand Island. Max score for Fremont here, 174. Another roll for Bates. Takes out one of the four. Not much pressure on that, though. A commanding win, 147 to 110 for Fremont. And the Tigers have taken the last 3 games in this competition. Grand Island led 2 games to 1 in our first Baker series, but Fremont came back. Had a 20-pin win, and a 7-pin win, 37-pin win. And now they're in control, seeking a second consecutive Class A state championship. Fremont defeated Grand Island a year ago in Class A, capping an unbeaten season. Today, the Tigers have had to go through the loser's bracket. They've handed Grand Island 1 loss. Grand Island has defeated Fremont also today. And there's a strike for Chloe Phillips. Ty Valentine. Knocks down 8.
We've seen lots of opportunities where players are going back to talk to their coaches in between shots, sometimes after their first ball on how to make their spare or before they go up to throw their strike shot. One of the things that comes along with a sport being picked up by the NSAA is, in many cases, these coaches are now part-time employees of the school district serving as coaches of a school-sponsored sport, and so it really ramps up the need for really knowledgeable coaches. They're seeking out the opportunities to learn more from USBC and from Junior Gold, and as the level of opportunities increases, the level of coaching increases, and it's just been really fun to see the growth of the sport in so many different ways.
There's a strike for Kaylee Halliday. That's her second of the night. Here's Bailey Bowden-Hall. She leaves the 10. Boy, Fremont really is bringing a lot of momentum after that win in Game 5. And there's a lot of work left for Kaylee McKenzie to do. But if they got down, Carla, 2 games to 1, big win in Game 4, the 7-pin win in Game 5. Right now, everything is just really consistent for everybody.
Absolutely. I was just going to say, we've had a few deviations, but by and large, they really are staying consistent. Grand Island staying, for the most part, in the 140s. Fremont staying, for the most part, in the 150s, 160s. And so this is what you expect out of a battle of 2 Class A schools. Is just they're going to go back and forth and back and forth.
There's a strike. for Brianna Miller.
Using the pins to take out that 10 pin there.
Just barely.
Haley Bates, the future Central Missouri Jenny. And that's why they want her.
Third strike of the game for Fremont. Cusella answers. Back-to-back strikes for Grand Island.
That looks more like Haley Cusella. Nice ball reaction there. Drives the ball through the pins, taking out the 5 and the 8 and the 9 pin.
So they'll switch lanes as we go to the 6th. Phillips and Stromer in the leadoff positions for their respective teams. This is Phillips. She began this game with a strike for the Tigers. And leaves one here.
Hannah Stromer now, another player who participates in unified bowling in addition to this NSAA bowling, and also just really considered the leader on the team. She is the senior on the team, one of a couple seniors on the team, but she has that leadership quality that her team has really leaned into throughout the season.
Just kissed it for the spare. So she's gone strike spare in game 2. And Stromer, meanwhile, posts another open score of 7. Valentine leaves 3. Fortunate that she's not left with a split. 2 more pins to pick up for Wendy Kohler. Another spare for Kai Valentine. That's her second of this game. And 3rd in a row.
Wendy Kohler now looking for the 4-7 spare.
She got it. After a strike in the 3rd, Halliday comes up empty in the 8th, at least on her first throw. Bodenhall's due for a strike, and she got it. Well, that's a good comeback for Halliday, knocking down 8. Brianna Miller. Another strike. Oh, here come the Islanders.
All the emotion of a senior.
McKenzie has 2 more to pick up.
So we saw Kaylee Cusella strike on her last ball, finally getting into her groove. And now here's where the anchor bowler comes in to just close out this game. She's building off of 2 strikes. Can she get the 3rd?
Yes.
Goes Brooklyn, but she'll take it.
That rattled McKenzie a little bit. Unable to get any of the pins down. Open frame for Fremont. It was off to a good start through the first 5 frames. through the first 7 frames, he just had one open score. But Grand Island, 3 consecutive strikes now after Wendy Kohler's spare.
So the most Fremont can do now is a 159. So Grand Island has locked up this game. And so this is an opportunity for both teams. You might see them make shots that maybe don't make sense, but the game is won by Grand Island at this point. So we're just going to sort of see what we can do. Doesn't matter. She's going to make an adjustment. She may not even go for the spare. She may just throw another strike shot.
Substitution coming in for Grand Island. That's Emily Dreyer. And she finishes out the game for Grand Island. And Grand Island gets the win, a dominating win, 185 to 138. So this best of 5 Baker match is tied up at a game apiece. Now we're down to the best of 3. Well, Class A has provided the drama, both on the boys and the girls' side. Columbus, after 10 games, 9 games, beg your pardon. In the 9th game, the final frame, Columbus defeated Pius by 1 pin for the state championship. Stromer starts off game number 3 with a strike for Grand Island. Phillips in 8.
You hate to have a nasty split like that, but if you have to have it, you want it in frame 1.
Kohler, first roll 7. And here's Kai Valentine. And a strike.
Great pocket shot right there.
Got them all. Kohler gets the spare.
Kaylee Halliday. Another split on lane 27.
Voldenhall, strike her last roll. Just does hang on to clip 3. Early on game number 3. Each team has a win. This is our second of 2 possible Baker series. Haley Halliday just never changes expression.
Very consistent.
Yeah.
So you saw Bailey's ball just head down the right side of the lane and never really recover to get back up to the pocket. That can happen on a lane condition like this, where you've got heavy oil through the middle of the lane. It goes pretty far down the lane. This is a 44-foot pattern. And sometimes it just hangs out in that oil and never really finds a dry spot to catch a roll catch a roll into the pocket.
Now we're getting some big numbers on the board. Anna Miller at 8. So far, Grand Island has gone strike, spare, and spare. Miller has 2 to pick up. Meanwhile, Fremont, pair of 9s and a couple of strikes.
we've seen Haley Bates do that several times where she takes a practice swing just to use that muscle memory. Nice, easy, straight swing. Needs to pick up the 610.
Oh, Miller got one and leaves the other.
This is a shot where if that ball had been traveling down the lane just a little bit faster, she probably would have been able to catch that 9-pin.
Bates did the same.
And I don't know if you could hear the sort of thumping noise that was going on as Haley Bates' ball was going down the lane. She used a plastic ball for that spare, and I think just flattened her hand out. And when you flatten your hand out and just sort of have this real flat release on the ball, what can happen sometimes is it catches a roll where it's thumping over the finger holes and the thumb hole, and you get that noise as it's going down the lane. Great way to pick up a spare, though.
So one more roll for Kaylee Cusella of Grand Island. And then we'll switch lanes and go to the 6th. Trying to pick up the spare, and she couldn't coax it over to the right. An open frame. Back-to-back 9s for Grand Island to close out the first 5. So we'll go to the 6th. Very tight matchup right now. A 4-point edge to Grand Island. And Stromer knocks them all down. Second strike of this game for GI's leadoff bowler, Hannah Stromer. Chloe Phillips answers back.
Very clean strike, and that's exactly what we're talking about. We've got a really tight match here. Both teams opened up in the 5th, 65-69, and then struck. Now an 8 count for Grand Island, opening up the opportunity for Kai Valentine here.
And a 9 for Valentine. She had a strike in the 2nd.
So closing the gap just a little bit with this.
Now that breaks a string. She had been consistent with strikes and spares through the last 2 full games. Last open frame was in Game 5 in the first series. Fremont won that anyway. Wendy Coley picks up the spare in the 7th for Grand Island. Halliday back to the 9 with her first throw.
When you're getting a match as close as this, where we've got just a few pins, just a 3-pin difference between the two teams right now, if you're not going to strike, you need to leave a makeable spare.
Knocks them all down. A spare in the 3rd, a strike in the 8th. And that is an open frame for Kaylee Halliday. Back-to-back 9s for Fremont. Grand Island inching away just a bit. 2 more to clean up for Brianna Miller. She's been pretty consistent with those first roll 8s tonight. Now Kaylee McKenzie. Strike in the 4th. Not one here in the 9th. 3 remaining.
So I know we've said it, strikes win games, but spares win championships. We had a really close match up until the 7th frame, just a 5-pin difference. But as Fremont is leaving opens and Grand Island is sparing more, that gap is widening.
And McKenzie, another open frame. 3 consecutive 9s on the board for Fremont.
So what was a 5-pin difference in in frame 6 is now a 26-pin difference just 3 frames later.
Kaylee Cusella starts off the 10th with a strike. And a strike for Haley Bates. But those open frames and the strikes for Grand Island, this has been a mere formality. There's a 9 for Cusella. Grand Island has already taken this 3rd game to take a 2-games-to-1 lead in this best of 5 Baker series. So Bates and Cusella will finish things up. Good finish for Fremont.
So a 156 for Grand Island. Substituting in Alyssa Dorenkamp.
Her first throw results in a 7, and that'll clear the lane. A 156 to 138 win for Grand Island in game number 3 of this Baker series, and the Islanders are 1-1 away from their first state championship. Well, Fremont has battled back in this series tonight. Grand Island had a 2-games-to-1 lead in our first Baker series between the two. Fremont won games 4 and game 5. That's why we're here. Then Fremont took the opening game of this second series, 147 to 110. But Grand Island has really put together some big frames, lots of strikes, lots of spares. They won 185 to 138 in game 2, 156, 138 in game number 3. We're underway in game 4. If Grand Island wins this, the Islanders are state champions. Fremont wins it, we'll go to a 5th. 9 and a strike for Phillips. And a spare. Guy Valentine. She's the MVP. She's been the most consistent for Fremont so far tonight. So strong in the 2 spot. A lot of pin action. Knocks down an extra one for Wendy Kohler.
Not sure if her thumb stuck in her ball or if she just squeezed it too much. She really got that ball farther out in the lane, I think, than she intended to.
Halliday gets an 8 out of that. Wendy Kohler trying to pick up a spare. Got it. Back-to-back spares to begin the 4th for Grand Island. Nice spare by Kaylee Halliday. Bailey Bodenhall. Next up. Strike, spare, strike. Her last 3 balls. Oh, she's finding a rhythm. Bodenhall strikes in the 3rd. She had some hard luck earlier tonight, Bowden Hall. Leaving pins and leaving her some trouble. Things turning around for her at the right time. Here's McKenzie. Oh, what a duel we got going on in this fourth game. Brianna Miller knocks down 9.
This game is such a good example of what I said just a few moments ago about if you can't get a strike, then leave yourself a makeable spare. Spares so far have been an 8 count, a 9 count, a 9 count, and looking for another 9 count spare. If you can leave yourself something that you can make, you've made the game 10 times easier for yourself.
Haley Bates, a strike in the 5th. Brianna Miller, a spare for Grand Island in the 4th. Now Kaylee Cusella. Grand Island has looked good so far in this game, but you get the sense they really need a strike here to keep pace with Fremont, and she can't get that pin to spin around, and she leaves one. Spare opportunity, though. Fremont has gone strike, strike, spare, and then 2 more strikes. Got it.
So we are clean through the first 5 for both teams.
And as they make the turn to the 6th, still some math to do, but on paper it's a 10-pin advantage for Fremont. Tigers with 4 strikes through the first 5 frames. Chloe Phillips got it started off in the first with a strike and, leaves herself a split on 27. How many times have we said that tonight?
A lot.
Boys and girls side. Stromer leaves the 7th. Two of the 3. First open frame.
I don't know how sure she was that she was going to make that.
She kind of tiptoed and strutted away all at the same time after she saw that pin fall. Here's Kai Valentine. Stayed in play for 7.
Just kind of hooked and died on her.
One to drop late and posts an 8. Valentine, can't get the connection on the ricochet, and she leaves one. So after 4 strikes and a spare through 5, back-to-back 9s posted by the Tigers.
So having a quick chat about how Wendy Kohler wants to go about this spare.
Kaylee Halliday, another 9. She went 8 spare in the 3rd. Kohler. Thought about it, talked about it, got it. That's the 6th spare in 7 frames for Grand Island. No open frame so far. And Halliday knocks down that 7 and gets a spare. Hall with 9. If Fremont wins this, we'll have a 5th and deciding game. If Grand Island wins it, the Islanders are state champions. Kaylee McKenzie. Oh, gives Fremont some hope. That's her 2nd strike of this game. Bodenhall quickly goes for the spare. Still not an open frame for Grand Island in this 4th game. Just 1 strike. 7 spares. Brianna Miller. Directing traffic and gets a strike.
Loving it.
Right now, Grand Island's max is 214. Fremont's max, 212. If that holds, Grand Island is your state champion.
Grand Island just needs to keep it clean. Strike or spare, just stay clean at this point.
Haley Bates posting an 8. It's right down the middle, and that leaves the 10 for Kaylee Cusella.
And as high as that ball went, that could have been a split for her. So she, I'm sure, just is breathing a sigh of relief that that wasn't messy, or that she ended up getting away with just the 10 pin there.
Gotta have a spare.
So Kaylee taking some deep breaths. I've said this before, this is a spare that she's made thousands of times. It is the easiest and the hardest spare for a right-hander to make.
We're in the 10th. Grand Island's max score 194, and she couldn't come up with it. That is the first miss of a spare pickup in this game.
So all Haley needs to do is keep it on the lane.
1 pin for Fremont to win and force game 5. Got 1 and just enough. And Haley Bates has put Fremont in position to repeat as Class A state champions. Because Fremont has come back to win game 4. Final score 190 to 182. And we will go to a 5th, just as we did in dramatic fashion in Class A boys, with Columbus going all the way to a 10th frame, the last ball of the match, defeating Lincoln Pius on the boys' side. Columbus won its first state championship. Fremont has come back and came back in game 4 to force a deciding game 5. Great drama in Class A.
The exciting thing about this is this state championship can be won in as few as 3 games or as many as 10 games. And for both Class A boys and girls, we have had to go all the way to 10 games to get our state champion. Could have been a 6, ends up at a 9.
Anna Stromer, doesn't like it, and with good reason. Grand Island did not have an open frame in game 4 until the 10th. And that's how the championship, at least for the moment, slipped away. Here they open up with an open frame 8. And Valentine got a little luck and then shows some skill and gets the spare in frame 2. Here's Kohler quickly, leaving a couple. Boy, that sheet for Grand Island back in that 4th game. Just an amazing consistency with all those spares. You say pressure?
Pressure. They responded really, really well.
That's pretty automatic. Kaylee Halliday with a first roll 9. Kohler completes the spare. Couple of spares last game for Halliday. This time she just slides it past the 10. And there's a 9. This is game 5. This is it. This is for the championship. Odenhall leaves herself a split.
Kaylee McKenzie, the senior.
She really came through for the Tigers in that last game. In the 4 spot, had a strike in the 4th and a strike in the 9th. Odenhall settles for the 2 on the left side and a 9. Just 2 of the 3 for McKenzie this time. I don't think we're on pace for the kind of scoring that we saw in Game 4, 190 to 182. Well, that hiked up the numbers just a little bit. Brianna Miller gets the first strike for Grand Island in the 5th.
Great shot here, right in the pocket. Deflects just a little bit, but has enough pin action to take out those pins that look like they might try to stand, but ultimately fell down.
Haley Bates for Fremont, strikes in the 5th. Cusilla watched and leaves the 7th. She thought she had the strike.
A great shot there for her, and you can see the frustration on her face. It was a good shot. She was in the pocket, and sometimes that 7 pin just is stubborn and won't go down.
Solid spare to finish out the 5th. We're halfway through Game 5, the deciding game for the Class A state championship. This is it. Winner takes home the trophy. The silver goes to either Fremont or Grand Island.
And each player knows at this point they have 1 frame left to help their team win a championship. And we're close here. We've only got 11 pin difference between the 2 teams, and then a split there on lane 28 for Fremont may shake things up a little bit.
Oh.
But then an open for Grand Island.
Score of 7 in the 6th for the Islanders. Almost with that pin to knock down the other one, but Chloe Phillips gets 1 and a score of 9. Kohler just does not waste any time. Knocks down 7. She's got a tough spare to pick up. Here's Kai Valentine. Not much of a surprise to see her come through for her team.
So we've got a strike in the 7th for Fremont, an open in the 7th for Grand Island, which is coming off of another open in the 6th. And a 7th count here for Kaylee Halliday. Bailey Bodenhall, excuse me, always so focused.
Oh, big shot for her. And her team. Grand Island needed that. Here's Kaylee Halliday. Got them all. A key spare in the 8th for Fremont. Brianna Miller leaving 2. Kaylee McKenzie. Final frame of her Tiger career. And it's a 9.
Brianna Miller also throwing her last shot.
Just one. Oh, Grand Island so close to a state championship in that last game, and it just got away from them in the latter frames. Only open frame in game 4 was the 10th. Fremont took advantage, forcing this game 5. And just like they did, it's not over yet, but you go back to the first Baker series between these two tonight. Grand Island had a 2-1 lead. Fremont won 4 and 5. And Cusella in the 10th. Leaves 2. Here's McKenzie. Picks up the spare. Tigers are close to going back-to-back. And instead of the spare, one falls. And Haley Bates stands on the lane for Fremont, working with a spare in the 9th. Leaving 1, but that's just a formality. The Fremont Tigers have come back through the losers bracket, trailing 2-1 in the first Baker series, trailing 2-1 in this series. And they have come back, and they are 1 ball away from winning a 2nd consecutive state championship. And Mallory Hansen, a sophomore, is going to come in and finish this out. That's okay. She's in the books as a member of the state championship team, the Fremont Tigers. Repeat as state champions in Class A girls bowling. Quite a comeback several times today for Fremont. They had to go through the losers bracket. They lost to Grand Island earlier today. They go through the losers bracket. They come back in the first Baker series, down 2-1. They win 4 and 5. They force another Baker series, trailing 2-1 in that 4th game, 192 to 180 or 190 to 182, and then they get the win here, 152 to 124. And for the 2nd consecutive season, the Fremont Tigers are the champions in Class A. So congratulations to Fremont, the number 2 seed. They finish on top. champions once again.
At Teammates, our mission is to positively impact the world by inspiring students to reach their full potential through mentoring. Since 1991, Teammates has served more than 47,000 students across the Midwest. Today, we have a growing list of students waiting to be mentored. Mentors come from all walks of life. To be a mentor, all you have to do is be there. Find more information about how to become a mentor at teammates.org.
Coverage of the NSAA Bowling Championships is made possible in part by Teammates Mentoring Program, Nebraska Soybean Board, Education Quest, and Nebraska Public Power District. A big thank you to all our sponsors who help us bring you the best high school athletes from across the state. We could not do it without your support. Great drama, great bowling at Sun Valley Lanes in Lincoln. The Class A state championship on the girls' side decided in two Baker series, won by Fremont. The second consecutive years, the Tigers are crowned the state champions. And let's salute the two teams that put on a great final, Fremont and Grand Island. Here's PA announcer Heath Kramer.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Nebraska School Activities Association is pleased to present medals and trophies to both of these outstanding teams. Presentations will be made by NSAA Interim Executive Director Jennifer Schwartz and NSAA Board of Director Kara Graham from Lincoln Southeast High School. These are the awards for the runner-up, Grand Island Senior High. Head coach Brad Ernest and his assistant will come forward to present the silver medals to their team. Bowlers, as your name is called, please come forward to receive your medal. Emily Dreher. Wendy Kohler. Kaylee Cusella. Sarah Lopez. Brianna Miller. Hannah Stromer. And Bailey Vodenall. For these outstanding bowlers and their school, here's the 2024 NSAA Class A Girls State Bowling Runner-Up Trophy. Congratulations, Grand Island Senior High. And now, to the champions, Fremont High School. First, coaches Mark McKenzie and Jess Sorensen, we have a special award for you. Now, coaches, please hand out the gold medals to your team. Bowlers, as your name is called, please come forward to receive your medal. Haley Bates. Alyssa Dorenkamp. Kaylee Halliday. Mallory Henson. Chloe Phillips. Kai Valentine. And Kaylee McKenzie. Now for these outstanding bowlers and their school, here is the 2024 NSAA Class A Girls State Bowling Championship Trophy. Congratulations, Fremont High School.
Well, congratulations to both Fremont and Grand Island. Great seasons and a great show tonight. But once again, congratulations to Fremont on a second consecutive state championship. And we will talk to the winners when we come back.
Hello, Create viewers. Samantha Brown here, host of Places to Love. We've got a great Create Marathon coming up in February that's going to highlight the very best of places we love. I know, I shouldn't play favorites, but I have a bit of a soft spot for these locations, and I know they're going to tug on your heartstrings too. Be sure to join us and learn why some of our locations have us falling in love again and again. Don't miss it. Cheers. This weekend on Create.
Blenheim Palace is the Duke of Marlborough's home. England has plenty of noble palaces in its countryside. This is my vote for the finest. Given to the first Duke of Marlborough for a great military victory, Blenheim Palace is now home to his descendant, the 12th Duke of Marlborough. And he welcomes the public, whose entrance fees help maintain his huge estate. It's remarkable to think that two of the most important military victories in the entire history of Britain, while 2 centuries apart, were overseen by commanders from the same family, Churchill. John Churchill, who was the first Duke, defeated Louis XIV and the French at the Battle of Blenheim in 1704. And Winston Churchill, who was born in this palace, won the Battle of Britain and helped defeat Hitler in World War II. In the aptly named Great Hall, you'll be dwarfed by the grandeur of the palace. A long hall leads through a series of richly decorated staterooms. These sumptuous rooms are lined with portraits of past dukes. This is number 4 and his family. Photos of the present Duke's family are a reminder that the palace is still lived in. Several dukes were rocked in this ornate cradle, as babies. Winston Churchill was born in this room in 1874. His golden locks, first cut when he was 5 years old, hang above the bed. The dining room has hosted about 300 years of fancy banquets. The Blenheim tapestry shows the moment the French commander surrendered to that first Marlborough, quite dashing on his white horse. In the distance, we see the latest artillery, the carnage of battle, and legions of soldiers. The remarkable Long Library was, in the 18th century, one of the finest private libraries in Europe. It's overseen by Queen Anne, who honored the first Duke by giving him this palace, which remains in his family to this day. The palace's enchanting gardens are vast and feel natural, but the sublime lake and the beautifully landscaped vistas were carefully planned. The majestic water terraces were designed to compete with Versailles, and they do. The tea garden is an ideal place from which to ponder it all. And the column of victory, capped by the first Duke of Marlborough, oversees everything.
20 years ago, the Los Angeles Philharmonic moved into its new home, the amazing Walt Disney Concert Hall. Now we honor its architect, Frank Gehry, with a special gala. From Bach to Debussy and a whole lot more. Join music director Gustavo Dudamel, Herbie Hancock, Her, and Lucinda Childs when the LA Phil celebrates Frank Gehry on Great Performances.
Friday night at 8 Central on Nebraska Public Media.
Coverage of the NSAA Bowling Championships is made possible in part by Teammates Mentoring Program, Nebraska Soybean Board, Education Quest, and Nebraska Public Power District. A big thank you to all our sponsors who help us bring you the best high school athletes from across the state. We could not do it without your support. Sun Valley Lanes in Lincoln, Nebraska has been the site of some tremendous bowling throughout the last several hours. We've seen terrific championships in Class B and in Class A, and our final championship was decided just a few moments ago with Fremont repeating as the Class A Girls State champions, defeating Grand Island in terrific Baker's matches. And we're joined by the anchor of the Fremont squad, Haley Bates. And Haley, congratulations on the win. You were part of the team that won the title last year. How can you compare last year to this year, especially when you've got a squad with a couple of sophomores and a freshman that you're working with?
Yeah, honestly, it's a whole different chemistry than what our team was last year. With the new girls, they fit in so well, and our chemistry today was just incredible. I mean, we were hyping each other up all day, and it's wonderful.
You're going on to play collegiately at Central Missouri. What does it say about the level of bowling, the girls and the boys side, but the girls side especially, that the opportunities for athletes in Nebraska, that you're getting those opportunities in the sport that you love so much to continue playing?
Honestly, I'm so happy that high school became a sport in Nebraska, especially because, I mean, there's so many girls that want to bowl, but they can't because there's no opportunities here. So being able to bowl during high school for a team, it's amazing, and especially for collegiate, it's a wonderful experience.
Well, we know that you will represent the state of Nebraska well at Central Missouri. Congratulations, though, and enjoy another state championship.
Thank you.
All right, Haley, thank you very much. Let's bring your coach in, Jess Sorensen. All right, last year we could say dominant, 29-0 and winning the state championship. This year the word has to be resilient. How did you go through the loser's bracket and to come back from 2 games to 1 down a couple of times to knock off Grand Island?
It's all these girls. They had to pull it together, keep their heads up, stay in the game, and that's exactly what they did. They stepped up today, and they pulled it off.
How much did the experience of having won a championship before? I know you have some new athletes on the team and a young squad with those couple of sophomores and a freshman, but the experience and the expectations to be good bowlers in Fremont, it's a great bowling community. Does that pay off in winning a title?
Absolutely. So we had some experience sitting there that could help these younger girls step up into this game and then also calm their nerves, because this is the first time for many of them to be on this stage. So calm their nerves, help them step up, or pick them up after that.
What is the level of bowling like in the state of Nebraska, especially now that this has been the last 4 years that the NSAA has put the championships on? How much has the level improved, and how good has the competition been now that you have both Class A and B?
It's tough. It's real tough. And those patterns that they put out for us, they're not easy, and they keep getting harder. So the competition, the level of competition, it just continues to grow.
Well, congratulations on another state championship. Fremont is a great bowling community. Congratulations. Enjoy it, and I know we'll see you again next year.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, Fremont, the state champion, Class A girls, dramatic victory over Grand Island. Well, congratulations not just to the Fremont girls in Class A, congratulations also to Columbus winning its first state championship, Class A boys. Wayne girls, 4 consecutive state championships, and the Seward boys, they win the title in Class B for the first time. Now for Carla Bandemer and the entire Nebraska Public Media Sports Production crew, I'm Bill Dolman saying goodbye from Sun Valley Lanes in Lincoln, Nebraska. Championship trophy. Congratulations, bowling championship.